to an emergency episode of NextGenTCG. We are opening the Rick Epstein files because we got some major news that's it's kind of started on Monday, but it's kind of trickled in today with a lot of news with Rick Probstein, accusations, nothing verified yet, of shill bidding. We're going to do a big deep dive into it. I drag Zach onto this podcast. He's at a show right now. I was like, Zach, we need to talk about this. This is big news for the hobby, not just Pokemon sports, but I think this is kind of like a cross section where all these collectibles, cards especially, they kind of collide. So I think that it's important that we talk about it as it happens and give our initial thoughts. Obviously, more news will come out as it comes out. But I just wanted to, first off, big shout out to once again EFour breaking news on prototype cards, and the bulk of this stuff was once again broken on EFour by an EFour member. I'm gonna completely butcher your username, but shout out to Blizzard. I will link the post where you can basically see the deep dive that this person did, basically showing all the evidence for the accusations of shill bidding. You can find the link to that in the description below. But first, Zach,
you watch out for that name, man. You gotta be careful how you say that name.
So I want to start off with history first, who Rick Probstein is, because if you have been collecting for any sort of time in this hobby, you have probably bid on a Probstein auction at some point. They've been on eBay for 21 years now, nearly $1 billion in sales. Their last public sale or last auction on eBay was on October 23rd of this year, because they decided to open their own bidding platform or auction platform called Snype. I just kind of, before we get into the deep dive of everything, I wanted to get your first initial impressions of basically all the stuff that's happened within this past week, especially these last 24 hours.
Man, oh man. I mean, I think first impression is just disappointed. Like, I'm like in shock, almost like disbelief in a way. Like, I saw the news and I was like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that this is true. Because, like, here's the thing is, like, the hobby has skeletons, okay? PSA has skeletons. You know, Beckett has skeletons. All these big companies have done things, and things have gotten either swept under the rug or forgotten about or moved on, or those people got fired or things happen. Like, Rick Probstein has skeletons. Everyone has skeletons that calls it. And then to come out and say, hey, I've got this new platform. You can't bid on your own items. We're going to do things the right way and all these things. And like, I'm like, wow, like, you know, like I believed, like I wanted to believe. And like, you're going to come out and you're going to do a big competitor to eBay. You're going to do this big launcher coming off eBay. Like I get that you want it to be successful. I get that you want to have a good showing. But like, does everything that succeeds in this hobby, is it all just propped up? Is every big bid, every big auction, is it all just fake? Is it all just like hype? I mean, all these like WotC cards that are skyrocketing the moon, I can tell you that all those asking prices are made up. They're not like just real, okay? It's just rich people saying, okay, fuck it, I'll pay $55K for that card. Like, it's all just made up. And so when you come to like Rick Probstein, he's like finally doing the right thing. He's like, we're going to be transparent and clear and all this stuff. And then the evidence comes out and it's just absolutely like damning how like bad it is. Like it seems unequivocal. Like there's no like justification. Like there's no around it. It just is what it is. I am shocked. Like why would you put so much money and effort into this and then just like blow it up in the worst way possible? Like to me, like this feels like just straight fraud. Like, I mean, there's got to be some sort of like criminal actions taking place.
Yeah, so let's start at the beginning. So Rick on eBay for over 2 decades decided that he wanted to start his own auction platform, called it Snype with a Y. So Snype is based in New Jersey, and Rick is the primary owner of the company. He owns 90% of Snype. What they offer to incentivize people to use Snype over eBay is general. I'm not going to get to like specific numbers, but generally lower fees. You have the ability to consolidate up to 30 days of all your items and get them shipped to you all at once. Something that eBay does not do. The only way easiest way right now to consolidate items is basically just ship them to the PSA vault and then have them kind of ship everything at once. So being able to consolidate everything up to 30 days after each auction item ends is a great way to save on shipping because every dollar counts. And one thing they introduced is what they introduced is called Snype bidding, which is basically you can choose when you bid, you can choose a third option, which is called Snype bidding, and when you're allowed to enter your max bid. And with 2 seconds left of the auction ends, your max bid will be submitted. So I kind of do this already because I use a platform called Jixen, and basically that's what I do. I enter my max bid. Jixen does the bid for me on eBay, and then I'm pretty much done with it. But this is kind of just like a built-in system into the auction platform, which is really great. It's a really good way so you don't get caught up in the hype of an auction. You said ahead of time, this is my max bid. I will not go above it. You don't get stressed out watching those last couple seconds tech. I honestly just sometimes just forget about auctions because and then they show up on my eBay feed, you won. I was like, oh right, I forgot about that. So
Yeah.
their first wave of auctions started on Monday. There's like an auction every single day of the week now. It's just crazy. All PW fanatics auctions end every single day of the week now. But anyways, their auctions ended on Monday. Unfortunately, there was basically a malfunction with the Snype bidding system. It didn't work properly. A lot of people who won auctions were there and paid for the auctions. Their auctions got canceled. They got refunded, the right thing. But unfortunately, so the code basically for the auction site wasn't secured properly, and it allowed people to get a hold of user information. You literally could dive into the code, pull up people's emails, phone numbers, credit card information, basically kind of like a data breach. But this is more this wasn't a hack. This was more negligence that they didn't do the site properly, which is a whole other story. So not only was that bad, deep diving into the information of the actual bidders, they found some very sketchy looking bids, and I will let you kind of take the the floor
No,
from here.
you take it. You take it. I got a lot more to say, but I want you to keep going with what actually happened.
So the data mine information showed that there were multiple accounts, so which could be directly tied to Rick Probstein. For instance, there was an account called Honey Bunny, which placed over 11,000 bids, and the email associated to that account was literally probstein123@gmail.com, which is a very well known. That is literally Rick Probstein's email that is known to basically everyone in the industry. He is very liberal to give that email out. But there also were accounts that were tied to his wife, Kevin Berg, which is a very nefarious person in the collecting realm, has been accused of faking autographs, trimming cards, faking patches, jersey patch cards, all that type of stuff, all the way to 2003. So, if, for instance, once again, this is all linked in the EFour article. Kevin Berg, his username is actually very fitting. It was Weasel's Gonna Get You. So they also have so this site also had its versions of pre-authorized premier auction, like kind of what like Fanatics does, like accounts are allowed to bid on higher end stuff, but you had to like associate your eBay ID with it, and the eBay ID for Weasel's Gonna Get You or Kevin Berg, the eBay ID is I am Rick Probstein. So
It's trolly. It's pretty trolly, but still,
yeah, so all the full list of all the accounts once again you can find on EFour, and basically just it's not you just kind of have to connect the dots here. It's a very strong evidence that Shill bidding occurred during this first wave of Snype auctions.
And that's what he stood up against. That's exactly what he built Snype for, was to fight against shill bidding. You can't bid on your own items. And like, I have an interesting perspective on shill bidding that's changed over time. Where like, I have items that I will send to auction. Let's say it's a 30K item, but like if that item only went for 15K, I would totally buy it. Now, the hobby's general consensus that you should not bid on that. You should just let it go for 15, let it go. But like, I kind of have the opinion that if you still were willing to buy it, pay the fee, and then it's your start yourself, like, I kind of believe that you should be able to bid on it if you're willing to pay the fee and like all the damages and that. And I would prefer that to be transparent. Like, I wouldn't want to be like, oh, I'm hiding the fact that I'm bidding or whatever. But I think you should always like be able to pay the piper. But it seems like the hobby, almost like weighing packs in 2015, was so like taboo. You couldn't weigh packs. It's like the consensus now is just don't bid at all. And so typically, if I send something to like Fanatics or Probstein or wherever to auction, I usually just forget about it. I don't look at it. Just let it go. Just tell me what the results are at the very end. It just keeps you from getting that mindset of like, oh, this tropical wind is 10K, like it's going for 5. It's like, well, let it go for 5. If the hobby is believing one thing is a certain way, then it should be. Any comments there before I keep going?
I can see how you can argue it both ways. I just under belief that I would not bid on my own auctions because I feel like I'm spending money just to go. Yeah, I don't know. But I wanted to kind of talk about. So
Rick stood on the fact you wouldn't bid on your own auctions. That's why this is so bad. It's like there's videos and reels of him saying, "I'm building Snype for XYZ," and then 11,000 bids is crazy.
Yeah, on just one of the accounts, which is insane. All right, so let's talk aftermath. So even though Probstein left eBay, their eBay account is still active. So you can kind of still see that it's on there. So kind of the fallout of this, a lot of people who have like stuff at Probstein contacted the company and basically like, what the hell is going on right now? I want my stuff back. Send it back to me. Just pull everything, mail it back to me. So there are circulating on the internet. Can't completely verify the emails because we're not lawyers. Basically, Snype customer support and Probstein customer support saying that they are currently in the process of negotiating a new deal with eBay. So it looks like they're going to go back to eBay at some point as well. So it kind of begs the question, was this whole Snype thing kind of a negotiation tactic, trying to get like a better deal with eBay in terms of commission rate? Or was they just tried to do Snype and realized, oh, we screwed this up royally. So now we're kind of like scrambling to get back on eBay again because Snype is, we'll get into opinions later, but we kind of perceive that maybe Snype is kind of like dead in the water before it barely began. Like if this was a negotiation tack, did they like cheap out on the development side of Snype, knowing that this wasn't going to be like a long-term thing? I'm kind of just interested in your whole thought process on that.
It's just ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And the thing that frustrates me the most is when you have like fraudsters or people in the hobby that commit criminal acts. They just go from doing things publicly to privately, and they're still like very involved in the hobby. It's probably one of the most frustrating things for me that you see. And so it's like, yes, things were going to continue. And it's like PWCC was the golden child of eBay. To me, they were like one of the best people that invented the vault, invented the loan service, invented all these things that were pro collector before they got more, sort of the capital side. And it was like they were kicked off eBay because their bidders were shill bidding on behalf of them on their accounts. So they were kicked off eBay for like a tangential reason of shill bidding. And then Rick Probstein comes out and has this Snype platform, and it is like proven how bad it is, unequivocally, how bad it is. And eBay is like, please come back, please come back, please come back. So why do you kick off PWCC for political reasons? Like, oh, I just don't like you doing. And Rick, it's like he makes these really, really, I mean, unless like we're just wrong, this is all made up and lies. Obviously, I'm not a coder. I'm not the person out there going figuring all this out. Like we're reading verbatim, and it's being validated by many other people that it's true. But if it was this bad, it's kind of like like Ray Rice and the Ravens. It's like the guy goes and beats his wife. You can't come back and play football, dude. Like you got to go. But it's one of those things. It's like if you commit these heinous crimes, like eBay can't just ignore it. They're willingly pulling someone back. That's so bad. And the one thing I want to say about the shill bidding thing is it's technically legal, I think, in some states or some areas to do that. But some platforms take the view that you cannot do that. And so platform by platform, it changes. And if you go look at like Fanatics or Golden or this or that, you actually find that it may be actually okay to do that, which is very odd and obscure. So I think that's why Snipe's coming out. But if we take it back, like let's take it way, way back. Why did Rick create Snipe? Because let's assume, Rick has been on eBay for longer than anyone else. Longer than PWCC, longer than Ken Golden, longer than anyone. Rick probably had the best rates possible. Now, we can't guess what rates Rick has. We know the bank accounts are probably less than 5%. But let's just assume Rick had 0% fees. Let's assume he had fees that just are not possible, 0%. Why would Rick create Snipe? Well, that's because these platforms, they gatekeep very sensitive information, customer information. Customer information is the most valuable thing in this whole hobby. It shows you where the whales are, what people are buying, where the money's moving, where the IP address is, how often are they buying, what else are they looking at? When you buy something, I know who the buyer is, but I don't know, are they on eBay an hour a day? Are they on eBay 20 hours a day? Do they have 10 accounts? Do they have 5 emails? Do they have 6 shipping addresses? Do they have 5 credit cards? What's their credit score? What's their debt? And so when you can have your own platform, you can own all the customer information. You can see the IP addresses. You can see the emails. You can see all this other data. You can embed cookies, into that person where you can actually see so much more. And so like the value in creating your own platform goes beyond just the fees and the things you would make and the shipping and the other pieces. It goes to the point that like you can literally cater a customer in this alternative asset world where we think alternative assets are going to keep going up for years and years and years. If you have the ability to just know all that information about these key group of customers, you can capitalize on that way, way more than just an auction. And I think that was really the goal of Snipe. I think that was probably the most important thing. If you look at some of the biggest hobby scandals of the last like 5-10 years, it's all come down to customer information as being the most important and critical point of it. And if you run a business today, and you should treat customer information as your most valuable asset. It's to me almost just as important as revenue. It'll dictate where you're going to go.
There's a couple things I want to touch on there. So we live in the digital age right now. Basically, what I advise everyone is basically any platform that you use, that you have your personal information stored. When you input your credit card information, your phone number, your address, just assume at some point that site, service, app, they're going to be hacked at some point. There's going to be a data breach at some point. So when you provide that sensitive information, know that there's like almost guarantee at some point it's going to be out on the web for someone else to find and get to. That's my first kind of like tip to everyone there. So Zach, what I want to ask you is, what is the future of Snipe? Is Snipe kind of like dead in the water? Can it recover from this? Does Rick basically just like create a shell, or is it dead? And he has to create like a shell company now, have someone else run it, so you can kind of like rebuild it from the ground up. What are your thoughts of the future of Snipe?
I mean, gut reaction is dead in the water. Obviously, there's some news out there that eBay is interested in acquiring Snipe. That could be to get Rick back on eBay. You figure out you're losing, how many millions of dollars a year and how much, this and that. If I was eBay and I saw how bad this went, I may just kind of wait a little bit and just, hey, I think you're dead anyway, man.
We'll tack on a couple of points there on the commission rate, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, when people build other platforms, so eBay is an archaic platform. It has all these old pages, all these different ins and outs, different ways to do vacation, different ways to set this and that. And it's like you can barely find your way around, and the views change, mobile, web. It's like they just need to just do it from scratch. So we can agree that like eBay is not like the cleanest, most optimal, fastest platform. I mean, everyone that's on Whatnot basically agrees that Whatnot is way better than eBay when it comes to live streaming. And it has to do with how archaic it is, stuff like that. So a lot of people have created competitors to eBay. A lot of people have built websites, auction sites that are way better than eBay, but all of them fail because either they cannot get the customers to move on over to them, which Snipe was going to do great at because Rick has such a big following, this and that. It actually has a shot to pull over. Or when those platforms get big enough, eBay just acquires them. The most recent example we all know is TCG Player. It was the most successful, e-commerce website for trading cards that was off eBay, that was basically growing, completely independent, and it was going to be successful regardless of how eBay does. eBay has the most customers, the widest platform, the biggest reach, the most international, transactions and that. But like, if you get big enough, eBay's just going to swallow you. oh, I made this company 10 million. Hey, you want to take a $500 million offering? But yes, a lot of people would say yes to that. And so it's really easy for people to, just to debate the money, this and that. And so, long story short, like there have been numerous attempts to build other auction type platforms that are better than eBay. And I would say there are many of them that when you look, you feel, you test them, you go through it, they are better. There are people that have spent millions and millions of dollars doing this, and they almost always fail. Like I'd say, I honestly can't even remember one that's succeeded that's off eBay. That if the ones that haven't succeeded that are still alive, they're all struggling.
Do
Very
you know what
much.
this reminds me of? Like, it kind of this whole create a new auction house to kind of compete with eBay. It kind of feels very similar, like how there's always like a new grading company that pops up. Like
Yeah,
there's always a new grading company that tries to pop up to counter or compete with PSA or Beckett, CGC, Tag. I personally thought, like when you talked to me about Tag like about a year ago, I honestly thought that like that company, that this company's not going to survive. Like I thought they were like dead in the water before they even began. It was kind of, my prediction was kind of like come true, but they actually got some new investors and influx of capital to kind of keep them afloat. But if you told me like 6 months from now Tag is out of business, I would not be surprised whatsoever. So this whole new auction house, like it just kind of, it reminds me every time like a new grading company pops up.
but what's the difference between eBay and PSA? eBay goes and acquires everyone that gets close. PSA says, "Oh, they're going to die on their own. Like we'll just let them go." I mean, like PSA is like, they bought SGC, but like, they didn't want to buy Beckett because, we see where Beckett's gone from 2015 to today. It's crazy. You go from like 50-50 market share to like 90-1, and then regarding Tag, like, I mean, I've said this many times. I just thought their technology was so far beyond anything anyone expected in the hobby. Obviously, they made some mistakes. They still got some things to figure out. But when you look at like the tech that Tag was using at the time that I went and toured them, I was like, I can't believe this existed. Like it was like 3 years deep into something, and they just started grading cards. And maybe they should have stayed developing more. Maybe grading cards was a way to start generating revenue. But Pokemon cards way easier to grade than sports cards. But I was just blown away by Tag. I think you guys know that I was really considering being an investor there. Ended up not, so I'm actually not affiliated with Tag. I'm not an investor. I still like Tag. Like I would send my own personal cards there to get graded. But to develop the secondary marketplace and this and that, it's kind of like, why would I go participate in Snype? Why would I get less money from Snype when I got eBay? Why would I grade with Tag when I could grade with PSA and get this and that? I think there's a rationale to grade with CGC because CGC you can actually participate in the sub $50 market, whereas you can't really participate. You can't really buy and sell graded cards for $20-$30 with PSA because the grading fees are so high. It's crazy. Whereas like Tag, like you have 1,000-point scale. You can actually get the highest quality card and you can compete 1-to-1. And I think Tag will be around for a while. And I think that they'll probably be a really small portion of the market, kind of like the Black Label, to where like I think the few people that do grade there could keep them afloat.
So despite my doomsday prediction of Tag, I must say, of all the cases that are on the market right now, the plastic itself, they have the best holder.
It's the
They have the
best.
they have the best looking holder. It's so sleek. It's very hard. Like everything is laser etched into the case. You can't swap out the labels. It is a very clean case and definitely aesthetically from the outside, the best looking case on the grading market. All right, so let's get back on the main topic here. So both of us agree probably Snipe is dead in the water. Rest in peace. You're alive for 5 days.
No doubt.
So Probstein, inevitably when Probstein gets back onto eBay, um, how does this affect Probstein auctions? How does this affect Rick Probstein, his reputation in the hobby? How does this affect like how their auctions end? Like, will you have any issues buying stuff from them from their auctions? Would you have any issues submitting stuff? They offer a killer commission rate, so they offer 95% payout on anything above $1,000. So 5% is an insane commission rate. So what long term, or short term, long term, how does this affect their business model and their presence on eBay?
Sadly,
Nothing.
it's a short news cycle. People are going to forget. The people who are bidding, their primary bidders, probably don't even know the news. They probably aren't even aware. They probably saw the Snype little flyer, threw it away, and they're going to go back on eBay in December. Oh, Rick's got some auctions. I'm going to bid. Like outside the hobby, the people who are really in the hobby, they already know all the skeletons. They know the PSA skeletons. They know the Beckett skeletons. They know the old Rick Probstein skeletons. And they still buy and sell Rick Probstein. And so he's going to go back to eBay. We're going to pretend nothing's changed. He probably lost 10, 20 million bucks trying to build a site. Who knows? Rick was widely known as having the most efficient sweatshop in the hobby. Believe it or not, there's 20 people that work at Probstein Auctions. $1 billion in sales, for 20 people to knock all that out, it's crazy. He's one of the most efficient operations out there. Now, there's no customer service. You're never going to get an email reply or this, that, unless you're a big dog, unless you're one of the dealers. And if you're a buyer and this and that, he's helped me from time to time, but I've gone out of my way to provide an incredible amount of work on my side just to show him clearly as day what the issue was. It was 3 hours to every 5 minutes of his to fix an issue we had one time. But then at the same time, you get the low fees because the money's not going to customer service. The money is, this and that. So he'll be back on eBay. People forget about it.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of gonna be swept under the rug, and everyone kind of, if you've been into this hobby or of collecting for a while, we all know what's underneath the rug already. And I think that a lot of us have already come to consensus that shill bidding on eBay, on these separate auction houses, it just happens. It is just an ugly part of the hobby. Whether you believe it's ugly or not, it's just something that exists. And this is why this is why I use Jixen. I don't get caught into the hype of an auction. I know I set my price of what I'm willing to pay for a card. Don't go over it because I don't manually input anything. And you touched on this before, but PWCC obviously, they used to be on eBay. I used to love the PWCC auction ends when we used to have those group chats on EFour on voice chat, because they were just so fun. Once they left eBay, it kind of died down a lot. It's just eBay's watch pages is so much better than anything out there right now. Being able to track items and store and make notes and stuff, it's way better than what Fanatics PWCC/Fanatics uses now. So it's long rumor. It's just kind of I want distasteful to just kind of have all your things proved, all the things you suspect just kind of proven, and the evidence kind of just shoved in your face right away, and just almost indisputable at this point. It's you don't want to know how the sausage is made. Basically, you'll eat the sausage, is delicious, but you just don't want to know how it's made. And we kind of got a sneak peek of how it was made this past week.
It's how can your word have any value? You put everything out there to stand up for something. How can your word have any value? I went through the whole prototype thing and it was awful. I made it right for everyone. I want my words to still have value. And if I make a mistake, let me know. I'll tell you what I was thinking in the moment, all the information I had. Sometimes information comes out after the fact. It changes a lot of things, but it's in the moment. You always would think you're making the most ethical, the right decision. And it's he was doing that at the same time he was doing all the other shill bidding. It was it was at the same time. And it wasn't a little bit, it was a lot. And it's if his hand wasn't caught in the cookie jar, would he still be stealing cookies? It's probably. So I want to say one more thing about the whole shill bidding thing. Back 10 years ago, you could buy anything and everything. If you had a decent income, you could even buy an illustrator, with just a couple months paycheck. You could do a lot of damage to the hobby. And I was one of those buyers that if I wanted something, I was going to win it no matter what, because there was no one that would really double the price or bid you up or this or that. And then eventually you get to the point that it's oh, Zach's going to win that auction. We can bid. And so I shifted a lot of my buying strategies over the last 10 years to be more let's let these things go. A lot of people don't know that I built a no symbol PSA 9 position of all the hollows. At one point, I had 50 plus PSA 9 sets. And when I built those sets, I did not win every auction. I would let 20 to 30% of the auctions go where I wouldn't bid at all, or I would bid a portion of my bid and let it go. And so if people know that you're one of those buyers that will always bid things up, and you got someone like Rick behind the scenes that says, "Oh man, Zach's bidding, let's bid it up. He's going to win this no matter what." You have to be able to let things go. Then you see, oh, hey, it went unpaid. And it's like, oh, well, I was getting shilled there. Because sometimes you don't know who the person shilling you is. It could be the people behind the screen. People that own their own websites, they know all the data. Whatever they tell you, if you're on their website, they can see it all, which is crazy. So when it comes to bidding strategies, don't ever be one of those people that, like, if I know Tetra's been on an auction, he's going to win every single thing. Because to your detriment, you will be shilled. And so there's a lot of things that, even though I really, really like that Himeno Pikachu sketch, I don't have it. It's this one weird pose, this and that. And, I know it's a $3,000 card. It's like, you got to be able to let things go. You got to not, if you have the mentality, you got to catch them all. You got to bid on them all. You got to own them all. You're just going to hurt yourself because people will take advantage of you, especially if they know it's something that's on your goals or your wants or this or that. You got to be, that's why people are so proud of what they're bidding on. That's why people don't share what they're bidding on. I'll show you what I buy. I'll show you what I got. But hey, that auction's on Sunday. Like, you don't want anyone to know because the people are evil, man. People want to, I want to see my friends win, but some people just want to see other people lose.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like, even though Rick's pretty much reputation is basically going to be in the toilet, is in the toilet now. Nothing really changes once Probstein eventually rejoins eBay, because at the end of the day, if he has a card that I want and it's for the price that I want, reputation, be damned if I pay $50 for it and I can get it for $50, like 25% cheaper than anywhere else. I'll pay for it. I don't care.
Crazy.
Like, it's just crazy, which doesn't make any sense because we should kind of like be all banding together with all the other keyboard warriors and injustice warriors. Like, no, we should make a stand and say we will not bid on a Probstein auction ever again. But the reality is, there's just too many people. People have different values. People don't care. People just want the card that they want for the best price that they can get it, or they want to sell their inventory for the best commission rate that they can possibly get it for. So yeah, it's just kind of like, and we talked about it before, we kind of already all knew this was kind of going on in the background. So unfortunately, long term, people are going to forget about this, much like how people forgot about the whole PWCC leaving eBay thing, which was like, at the time, like, huge news. It was just massive news when PWCC was kicked off eBay. But you didn't see like PWCC like offering any kind of like legal thing where they say we gotta basically say no, we didn't do this, or they basically just said we're disappointed. I think the legal their response was we're just disappointed and disagree with eBay's decision. There was nothing committal about no, we're gonna take them to court, because as you know, Zachary, you may or may not know this, if you take someone to court, all the evidence against you becomes public knowledge. It's out there for everyone, and maybe possibly if you're in the wrong, you don't want that information out there. You don't want those Epstein files opened. So
one thing I love, Tetra, I love discovery because I treat every email, every text as if it'll appear in a courtroom someday. And I cannot wait for the moment to go to discovery because to me, it's just like it's opening a book. Some books I can't open, but some books, if other people want to open them for me, I'm happy to show every page. So to me, discovery is a beautiful thing.
Beautiful. And that was a very eloquent closing. And ladies and gentlemen, I think is a good place to finish for our emergency episode of NextGenTCG. We are back next week. We have lots to talk about. We have the collapse of Modern as we know it. Pokemon basically printing to the moon, destroying modern day prices. I saw Zach a couple weeks ago in Toronto. We got lots of stories we want to talk about. More importantly, he got to meet my daughter. A bunch of some fun stuff. Met some people for dinner. Almost sold a first edition card for nearly $200,000. That almost happened. Almost. So we have lots to talk about, but we will.
We gotta save that
We
story.
gotta save that for the actual episode of Next Gen TCG. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us for this emergency episode, and we will catch you guys later.
All right, see you guys. Thank you for watching.